classroom. Today's lesson is on evaluating the logic of an argument and getting ready to write the argument analysis essay. Let's begin with the elements of an argument. An argument includes a thesis, backed by reasons, and support. If you apply this to the handout we read on NASA faked the moon landing, the position, the thesis, would have been NASA faked the moon landing. The reasons why the reader should accept this thesis would have been because Americans didn't want to lose the space race to the USSR, and they didn't have the technology to accomplish the mission promised. They didn't have the technology to accomplish the promised space mission. The evidence, the support, the grounds for accepting the thesis would have been the numerous crashes, no wind or stars or crater, the Cold War pressure escalates with Sputnik's success, and other evidence presented in the article. The types of support or types of evidence are examples, statistics, authorities, and other textual evidence. So applying this to the article we read on NASA faked the moon landing, one example was that it was easy for Hollywood to create a moon landing since it was done for various movies such as Red Capricorn. One of the statistics used was that it was 92% of NASA spacecrafts failed. One of the authorities used was a NASA astronaut who witnessed the failed liftoffs. And some of the textual evidence was in the pictures, no stars appeared on the moon landing, and the flag was blowing despite no wind on the moon. When analyzing your argument, use the A.B.C test. A stands for appropriate, that the reasons in support must be appropriate. B stands for believable. The reasons in support must be believable. C stands for consistent and complete. The reasons in support must be consistent with one another as well as complete. Let's take a look at how you test for appropriateness. You would look at how does each reason or piece of support relate to the thesis? And is there a connection between the reasons, the support, and the thesis? And is that compelling? This is the area where you would explore for fallacies. For example, false analogy. If the author was to say, well, look, cars can only go 300 miles on a tank of gas, therefore a spacecraft can't go as far as the moon, comparing cars and spacecraft would not be an appropriate comparison. It's a false analogy fallacy. Or a red herring fallacy. For example, if it said the cost of the space program takes away money from healthcare, therefore we didn't go to the moon, that's a red herring. It's distracting you with the healthcare issue from the real issue, which is getting to an ability to get to the moon. Maybe there'd be an ad hominem attack. For example, President Kennedy had an affair. He would have wanted NASA success, even if it involved lies. Attacking the character of the president as opposed to the issue, did NASA fake the moon landing? The test for believability involves the rhetorical strategy of ethos. Believability measures your willingness to accept as true the reasons and supports given by the writer in defense of the thesis. So when you're looking at the facts, are they proved objectively to be true? Are they accurate? Are they complete? Are they trustworthy? Are the examples and anecdotes representative? Are they specific enough? Are the statistics precise from a trustworthy source? Are the authorities experts with credibility? In this part of your essay, it's looking at the ethos of the sources. Next, you would test for consistency and completeness. Do all the parts of the argument work together? Are there any of the reasons or supports contradictory? Are the reasons supports provided sufficient? And does the writer fail to acknowledge or concede or refute any opposing arguments or important objections? This would be looking at the logos strategies used in the argument. Keep in mind, analyzing and synthesizing arguments are two key critical thinking skills that we've been working on in the class. Analyzing is when you take something apart. That is when you're looking at the evidence, that's the parts, exploring the reasons and support. Synthesizing comes after analysis. That's when you bring the different parts together. That's when you look at how well does the evidence connect and prove the thesis to be true. So these are the two main skills, analyzing and synthesizing, that are required to successfully write this essay. The criteria for analysis, you were given a chart to look at, and it looks at some of the features of the argument. Be able to identify what is the issue at stake, what is the author's opinion, what is the actual argument, and what is the counter-argument. Also, make sure you're able to understand what are the motivating factors behind the argument. What values, ideologies, and ideals, needs and interests, fears and concerns, priorities and agendas, binary thinking go into developing this argument. Those are areas for you to analyze as well. To get started with a tentative thesis, you might want to use one of these sentence strategies. Author X takes the position that blank because blank. Yet, author Y thinks blank because blank. So let's take a look at it filled in. John Doe takes the position that NASA faked the moon landing because there are a few minor contradictions in the media portrayal of the event. Yet, Jane Smith believes that NASA did land a man on the moon because there is an abundance of scientific evidence. So if you begin with a thesis such as this, you're able to develop your argument. So here's the exact essay prompt. It's based on the essay we read, Did NASA Fake the Moon Landing? And like the moon landing, there are many events we may think we know have occurred, but are being called into question. Usually, but not always, these doubts are considered far-fetched in the thinking of extremists. In your essay, I want you to explore one of these such questioned events, commonly referred to as conspiracy theories. Your goal is to analyze the credibility of the doubters and consider the reasons why the doubts appeal to some people. Some possible questions you might want to explore is Tupac really dead? Did the Holocaust really happen? Was there a conspiracy to kill Princess Diana? Was September 11th a government plot? And there's various other conspiracy theory topics that would be great to analyze. You're expected to use 2 credible and 2 less than credible sources for this 1,500-word essay. Less than credible just means blogs, people that aren't experts on the issue. Normally in our writing, you must have credible authors, but in this case, we do need some extremists, some people that might not be experts in the field. So where to begin? You should probably search the web for conspiracy theories. Databases and books are great as well. Select your favorite theory. It could be a fun one, such as aliens landing in Area 51, or something more serious, such as the questioning of Obama's birth certificate. Write your research question. Have an idea of what you want to know. That's when you can start selecting books and databases and internet articles to get information about the conspiracy theory. Remember, this essay is not what is the conspiracy theory. This essay is analyze how the conspiracy theory is developed, analyzing its parts and synthesizing it. You should begin reading your resources and annotating them, completing the analysis charts and the A.B.C test. Then, as all good pre-writing strategies, outline your paper, draft your paper. Then your essay will go through the peer edit workshop. After the peer edit workshop, once again, you'd revise. Then you'd revise your essay and begin your final and submit your final draft. These are the steps to begin, and now you're ready to go. Thank you for joining me today in Flipped Classroom.